Women's Aid and the Men's Advisory Project are regularly identified as key partners by the Executive in the provision of support to female and male victims respectively. Both rely heavily on statutory funding to deliver their services. In order to establish some sense of the scale and cause of existing and persisting gaps in services, we undertook a comparative analysis of the fiscal and staffing resources available between the two leading sex-specific service providers that the Executive rely heavily on to address gaps arising from an absence of statutory service provision. According to the Charity Commission in the most recent year, the Men's Advisory Project report an income of £216,000. They have 3 staff members, 17 volunteers, and provide counselling and signposting services to men experiencing domestic abuse across Northern Ireland. They also provide anger management support to both men and women. By comparison, Women's Aid comprised of a federation of 9 regional charities reporting a combined income of £10.5 million, 291 paid employees and 51 volunteers. They are able to offer a significant wider range of free support services to women and children, including emergency accommodation, floating support, rights support, legal and court advocacy, childcare, education and personal development programs, and support services for children and young people. Women's Aid Federation estimate that their members provide support to 8,000 women in the last year, and despite such comparatively limited resources, the Men's Advisory Project estimate an approximately 1,000 men received some form of support from them in 2022. Equality is definitely not a pie, but as you can see, our simple not equality statistics pie chart does provide us with a reasonably clear comparison of resources invested into strictly sex-segregated service infrastructure for male and female victims. To put the scale of this difference into context, we would highlight that the annual salary of the CEO of the North Down and Ards Women's Aid is equivalent to the Men's Advisory Project entire staffing costs per year. Beyond the significant disparity of services made available to female and male victims, this funding gap clearly has wider implications for male victims, as the NGOs that speak for them will have comparatively very few resources or time to commit to lobbying government and raising wider public awareness about their needs. By comparison, the Northern Ireland Women's Aid Federation are members of a relatively large, vibrant and well-resourced women's sector who proactively and almost exclusively lobby on behalf of female victims. I should also say that over the timeline of our campaign to date, we have been unable to secure a meeting with the Men's Advisory Project. They also asked us to clarify that they have no association with the Split the Difference or our call on the Northern Ireland Executive to develop a strategy to tackle intimate violence against boys and men. We respect this request and acknowledge the important work that they do in a challenging environment with a relatively limited fiscal and staffing resources.